What is going on? Welcome back to Trending Stocks. Today we're going to talk to you about SoFi. I want to go over some of the current data points, break it down, what shorts did today, as well as everything else that you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. And with that said, let's get right to it. So there was a lot of things that really influenced SoFi's price today, both positive and negative. But ultimately, SoFi did go down 1.53%, a fair amount of volume, so 24.1 million shares being traded, 45.7 is the average. Similar to yesterday, whoever's in charge of algorithmic trading among Wall Street forgot to turn on the switch, or maybe they're just prioritizing meme stocks or something like that, because there was virtually nothing done today. A lot of the volume being done today was just institutions. Clearly not all of them were buying, as you can kind of see right here. So first thing, there was a lot of selling, but still, at least it's on institutions' radar for the most part. But as you can kind of see, there was quite a few big transactions, 1.77 million, 5.84, and then 1.02, but still relatively good stuff. Dark pool, very, very popular. So this is obviously used by large institutions as well as shorts. And when it comes down to shorts, they really were active today. So let's talk on that for a second. So as you can kind of see, by the end of the day, shorts did return 421.67 thousand shares. 16.44% of the free float is being shorted, and that works out to be 170.82 million shares overall are being shorted. Utilization is 69.87. You do see cost to borrow minimum being negative once again, so I've already talked about that many times, but you can kind of see what they did. So the teal line shows what they kind of did pre-market and throughout the day, but ultimately they were at its peak increasing 8.5 million shares, and then they kind of returned it roughly around the 1650 mark, so that's GMT. If you kind of factor that in, that is right here. So they started to return and kind of saved SoFi's technicals, so it bounced off of that 705, but still, like, basically shorts had their hands all over SoFi today. And so it's one of those unfortunate circumstances when it comes to SoFi. Just institutions are still not really getting in on the long. And I think just this news that came out today, so there was no SEC filings, as you can kind of see right here, but there was this PR, and I feel like this was blown out of proportion, because this is actually one point that a lot of the bears do bring up, as well as shorts, right? So shorts always just say, or I guess bears, that I guess SoFi is overextended, and if there is obviously a big recession that does happen, it kind of puts SoFi in a very bad predicament. But ultimately, this did occur in Q1 2024 with a placement of 350 million personal loan securitization exclusively with funds and accounts managed by PGIM. So in my opinion, I actually don't see this as that big of a deal. Obviously, it's a very big, credible company. If it was given to Joe Blow, whatever else, like, then I'd be a little bit more concerned, but I see this as still very favorable. And plus, speaking of favorable, there was the actual shareholder meeting being done today, and Chris reiterated 2026 guidance between 55 and 80 cents per share for the earnings per share. That's by 2026. But one thing that he did say that I really liked, he did reiterate saying that they could get into several new businesses in the near future that would obviously increase the earnings per share incrementally. And so, yeah, I think that's a fairly good optimistic stance. So a lot of people like to focus on the negatives with SoFi rather than the positives. And this is why I did decide to buy. So I used the available cash I have with Wealthsimple, and I bought roughly about 7,000 shares at 707. So I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. So now I have 3 different positions, 3 different accounts, and I actually bought this largely as well linked to the technicals, so I'll talk all about that. But when it comes down to shorts though, like, I feel like they're somewhat overdone. Like, I feel like in reality it should be continuing to go down. The broader market clearly just holding its breath for Nvidia earnings, which is coming out tomorrow after hours. So if their earnings is positive, then you could see a very nice broad market rally. So that could really stand to help SoFi get back to that 750 mark, potentially even higher. But one thing that's really struggled with is just options and obviously the man-made resistance points. So let's talk about that. So today there's 3.36 million in calls, 1.18 million in puts. Sentiment-wise, very evenly divided between bullish and bearishness, but 45% of all the options being done today were bearish, and this is right now the open interest. So with it at 709, technically 14,000 in open interest at the 7, 39 at the 750, and then 19 at the 8. This wall right here at the 8 started to pick up a little bit more, and as I said in my video yesterday, if you kind of have a nice push coming from institutions for it to get above 750, or their NVIDIA earnings is positive, then you could see a nice gamma squeeze as a byproduct of that. As all of these right here, so the 7, 750 and anything lower would all be exercised, so market makers would have to go to the open market to buy all of those. So that could really be positive, but again, vice versa, if NVIDIA earnings are negative, this is where you'll see shorts double down and bring it below $7. So it's kind of, SoFi is just one of those interesting plays. I know a lot of people are very, very frustrated. You can see on social media, even on my comments under my videos, like a lot of people are frustrated by SoFi not really doing all that much. But then again, as I've said, any stock that essentially just trades flat within a set parameter is absolutely epic for option traders. So if you guys don't know options, I know I've said this time and time again, just research it, and very beneficial to either sell calls or sell puts and just collect the premiums. So that's just my own opinion. Of course, you guys do whatever floats your boat. So starting off, like I said, a lot of transactions being done from institutions today, both buying and selling. These are some of the transactions occurring on the dark pool. So dark pool very often enough linked to shorting. But right now with it closing at 708, it is between this S1 and this pivot. So 706 is a very strong support. And so that kind of caused shorts to return some shares, it bouncing off of that very strong support level. So going into the next couple days, definitely need to watch for this 706 to hold. And I know I did my pre-market video and I kind of said it needed to hold at 716. Unfortunately, it didn't really last. It kind of held a little bit, but it didn't really last all that long. So 706 will be that next strong point to watch for, like I said, going into the next couple days. And then below that, $6.91, and then $6.67. Vice versa, $7.31. I don't feel like it will touch that naturally unless NVIDIA earnings are positive. So again, just kind of take note of some of the strong support and resistance points, but on the actual chart itself, it is now in the lower percentile of the Bollinger Band. You do see a bearish deviation on stochastic, but it is considered somewhat neutral. It's not overbought nor oversold, and as well, a number of retail investors have been getting out. So in my opinion, I feel like SoFi is just riddled with manipulation, and just those individuals or entities that is kind of behind the manipulation, they're the ones blowing a lot of the news out of proportion, such as this today. So I really, like I said, don't see this as a big deal. That's just why I did buy today, because I feel like it was just more of an overreaction. But then again, I could be wrong. So let me know your thoughts about this PR that came out today. What's your thoughts on the shareholder meeting and Chris kind of reiterating 2026 guidance? Do you think that was on purpose just to calm investors? Because typically in the past, at least, or normally during shareholder meetings, they don't really talk about guidance. So I feel like that would have been brought up only because maybe the sentiment is bad or they're just trying to calm investors. I'm not really sure. So what's your thoughts as well on that? Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. I always greatly appreciate that. And with all that said, appreciate all of you watching.